Okay, this Maran on the top of page 169 really belongs on the top of page 175. So, we'll have to go back and read this Maran. Maybe I should make a note of this. So I have a pencil.
Pen?
No,
One paper?
yeah, very good. Yeah. Thanks. Eli, can I use your pen for me? Okay, so continues the halakha b'ra in the middle of the page. Im haya bedato, if a person had in mind, l'bosh kama begadim, to wear a few, kama begadim shesh lahem arba knafot, to wear a few four-cornered garments, bezeh achar zeh, one after the next. Okay, so that's what he's thinking of doing. I want to wear one, then a second, then a third, then a fourth, all at the same time. Uvirech al harishon, he makes a blessing on the first one. What?
Winter time.
Yeah, it's cold, or it's in a situation where it's an article of clothing, not actually tzitzit. Uvirech al harishon, he makes a blessing on the first one. V'yifsik b'dibur kodem shitatef b'sheni. Then he interrupts with speech between the first and the second talit. Af al piken en tzarich lachzor u'levarech al hasheni. You don't have to go back and make a blessing on the second one.
Wasn't there the story of this guy in the old city that had like 100 pairs of tzitzit?
Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg, Rosh Yeshiva of Torah Or, a good friend of Rabbi Peretz. I love him. He passed away like a year ago, maybe. Nobody knows why he did it, but he wore 100 pairs of tzitziot.
Every day.
He's a skinny man, but he looked very, very big because of it. He wasn't that big.
That's a lot of tzitzit.
A lot of tzitziot.
100 pairs
tzitzit,
or 100 together? Like, does that mean like 25?
No, 100.
100, so 400 fringes.
Yeah. Nobody knows why. I've heard rumors his daughter was sick or something, and he promised Hashem he'd wear extra talit. I don't know. I don't know exactly the story, but let's put it this way: he's like it was a normal run-of-the-mill American Lithuanian Rosh Yeshiva, not some out-of-the-box, strange, controversial figure. He was a very normal person. So if he did it, they must have a good reason for why he did it. Yeah, something must have happened there.
It wouldn't be considered an avera to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for him you could put two. So you put two on for without a bracha. You could put 3 or 4. It must be no limit. Maybe it is like a mehudar hador mitzvah.
Right.
Yes, you wash all of them same one day. You have to wash 100. You have to wash those scissors every day.
Wash them? Yeah, I don't. No, not my wife. Yeah, I wouldn't work around. I don't think we'd work around my house. It's hard to wash tzitzit too because you have to protect them and stuff in little pockets or put them in a bag.
Wash the hand wash.
What do you guys do? Do you put them into like a little plastic bag or something?
Hand wash.
Hand wash.
I'm skipping page 169 and 170. I don't like what he writes here. I understand why he writes it. He's bringing the opinion of the Ramban. Let's ask you this question. Why in the world is he saying that if he speaks between the first and the second article of clothing? Remember Maran last week told us that if you wear 4 articles of clothing without a hefsek, without any interruption, then you make one blessing for all of them. But if you make a hefsek, then you have to make a blessing on each one. Okay? How is it that Rabbi David Yosef, who's supposed to be Sephardic and following Rabbi Yosef Karo, is going to tell you, no, if he talks, it's okay? What is his logic? the first time we remember having a hefsek, we said between a hand tefillin and a head tefillin. If you talk in between, you have to make the second blessing on the head tefillin, because they're two separate mitzvot. And so, even though you include the second mitzvah, the head tefillin, in the blessing of the first mitzvah of the hand tefillin, essentially, push comes to shove, you interrupt, and you have to make another blessing. You can't rely on the first blessing. Says the Ramban, here it's not the same thing as tefillin. Here, it's all one mitzvah. You made a blessing on talit, and you're talking, but you're still continuing to do the mitzvah.
Yeah.
That's not what Maran says. And Rabbi David Yosef goes further on 169 in his left-hand note to prove from 5 or 6 different places in Shulchan Aruch that Rabbi Yosef Karo would say you have to make a new blessing. So why is he going out of his way to side with the other opinion? Because he's afraid. He's afraid that if he tells you to make a blessing, then it's saying God's name in vain. We're not afraid. Halakha is like Shulchan Aruch. The Ramah does not argue here. The Ramah doesn't say, So I'm saying for Sfaradim, for Ashkenazim, if you talk between the first one and the second one, you have to make a blessing on the second one. I don't feel that this is important to study. I'm actually pretty upset that it's in here. So forgive me for skipping it.
Moving on.
Yesterday we were talking about, last week, small sisters, long, tall sisters, long one.
Yes.
Blessing for that is okay, you don't have to go for small.
Right, so we're going to talk about this again soon. That's what's on page 175. That's what I mentioned. So let's really continue on page 171. Im haya b'dato. If it was in a person's intention, Livosh kama begadim shesh lehem arba knafot. You want to wear a few 4-cornered garments. Bezach hazeh, one after the next. Uverech al rishon, and you bless on the first one. The question is, what constitutes an interruption? Is it talking? Is it dancing? Is it an amount of time? What is it that makes a hefsek
Real hefsek.
an interruption?
What's the root of hefsek? Is there some
Hefsek literally means to stop, like an interruption. Your kavanah, you're losing your kavanah. You should know, those rabbis who say you're not allowed to interrupt between the washing of your hands and the making of the hamotzi, the opinion there is that you cannot wait more than a few seconds between washing your hands and making hamotzi on bread. They consider being quiet at the table for more than a few seconds a hefsek, interruption. Worse than speaking.
Yeah. Wow. So you'd have to almost like wash at the table.
Right. Or actually, the custom that they had was very interesting. Was that everybody would wash? Or the halakha says everybody washes, and then the one who's actually making the hamotzi, he's supposed to wash last and then go to the table right away and make hamotzi. Not like what we do today. I'll tell you, today I have guests in my home. They don't want to wash their hands until the rabbi washes his hands. So they wait. So what ends up? I wash my hands, and I'll tell you, I learn sometimes a whole chapter from a book while I'm waiting for everybody to wash their hands. I always have a book next to me at the table.
Baruch Hashem, you've had some big turnouts for you.
Yeah, no, Baruch Hashem. No, they go to the kitchen, they're talking, tomatoes were on sale this week, and I'm sitting there busy. I wash my hands, let's make a hamotzi. No. But if, God forbid, I would talk one word, they would jump on me. I mean, the talking is not the problem, it's the hefsek. It's waiting here 20 minutes until you come back to the table. That's why there is a custom in many houses where they go around with a bowl and people wash their hands. And, okay, listen, there's only so much you can do, so you shouldn't obsess over this halakha of not wasting time, but people should be conscious of the fact that hefsek doesn't just mean speaking. In fact, speaking about the mitzvah, for example, if you were speaking about the laws of tzitzit, it could be that doesn't constitute a hefsek. Like, let's say you made a blessing in your talit, and you realize it's not kosher, so hey, can you bring me another talit because I don't want to waste this blessing? You don't make a new blessing. That's part of this conversation of the tzitzit.
Got it.
So hefsek is when you do something that distracts you from what you're supposed to be thinking about. This is v'hifsik v'shihah b'shtika kodem shitatev b'shani. So you wrap yourself, you bless on the first talit, and then you just sit there quietly for a while until you put on the second one. Afilu shahaz zman rav, even though you wait a long time, and hashiha nechshevet lehefsek, this waiting is not considered a hefsek, it's not considered an interruption. Kol shelo hisiach dato mehabeged hashini. So long as you were sitting there, meditating on talitot. So long as you haven't become distracted. You haven't made a hefsek in your consciousness from the mitzvah of tzitzit, you're allowed to just continue wearing the second one without a new blessing. But I want to judge those who wait a long time between washing their hands and hamotzi favorably. The original Eastern European custom, and I actually just saw this today, in a Sephardic, not today, this last week, in a Sephardic siddur from back in the day. So it seems like it wasn't just in Europe this custom existed. Everybody would wash their hands and then come to the Shabbat table. They would make kiddush after they washed their hands.
Wow.
Bar Pri Hagafen, finished, right away, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Nobody got up to wash. Now, imagine, you were doing a Pesach, not Pesach, Shabbat meal, 500 people. You have to wait for everybody to wash their hands. It's better to say, hey, everyone wash your hands, and then come to the table.
Yeah.
The only person who washed his hands afterwards was the guy who made the kiddush, because he's actually holding a cup and pouring wine, all kinds of things like that.
Huh.
The German Jews are the only Jews I know that still do this today.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they wash their hands and then come to the Shabbat table. The Rama, Rabbi Moshe Israel, he writes, Rabbi Yosef Karo put out Shulchan Aruch, says you first do kiddush, you wash your hands for bread, and then you make a hamotzi lechem min haaretz. That's what all of you do. Rabbi Moshe Israel, he writes, I never in my life saw a Jew do this. It's such a strange custom. So I've never seen somebody do kiddush and then wash their hands.
So where did he live?
From Poland. And I never saw in my life. He said, all of our countries, everybody washes their hands first. So what do you see from there? You can wash your hands and then make kiddush.
Yeah.
You could talk after washing your hands. You see that it wasn't a hefsek. The rabbi said, why is that not an interruption between the... So rabbi said something interesting. Because the bread is on the table on Shabbat, so even if you're sitting at the table for a while, you know what you're waiting for. So it's people that take a long time to wash their hands. Because the chalot are sitting right here in front of me, it's not really an interruption because you're still aware of the fact that you're waiting for hamotzi.
So you wash your hands, say kiddush, and then do hamotzi?
According to that custom, yes. Actually, one of the questions I need to ask our parents is if we can actually utilize this Ashkenazi custom for big events.
When it's very,
right, or when Kiddush is packed in here. It's been on my list the last 2 weeks to ask.
Alternate if you need.
Right.
You could alternate things using different customs.
But it's not a fake custom. It's an old Ashkenazi custom that is documented. The question is, did Rabbi Yosef Karo disagree on a fundamental level, or just he's telling you that's what the custom was in my country? That's what I need to figure out. So I'll be asking about that. Now, I might ask, and he might say I can do it, but I want to see how many people are actually going to listen to it. That's Umikol makom. In any case, the chatchilat's proper. You shouldn't wait between the two talitot, even if you're silent the whole time. That's a better question. Between the second and third talit, you were distracted. You didn't have sek. Do you have to make a blessing on the third talit? Pretty simple question, I think. The answer is yes, you do. Silence about the first and the second. If you did get distracted between the two, so you have to make a blessing. You should be careful not to get distracted. There's a halacha in Siman Chet, if my memory serves me correctly. Maran talks about blessings in vain. What's considered a blessing in vain? Okay, so there's one example of, you take a carrot, make a borei pri adama, you take a bite. You borei pri adama again, you take a second bite. You say borei pri adama, on every bite you're saying borei pri adama. Those are all blessings in vain, right? You only need to make one bracha on a carrot.
I do it sometimes if I forget. It's sad. You feel. What do you do when you mess up like that? When you've already done it, and then you're like, oh, why did I do it twice?
So you should probably say, I'm sorry, that was a mistake. And there's a little bit more thought. It happens to everybody, but a little bit more thought will go a long way in helping you remember. What happens in that situation is called a bracha sheinat tzricha. It's not a classic case of someone just saying Hashem's name out loud for no good reason. He said a blessing, but it was a blessing that wasn't necessary. And therefore, he's causing himself to make a blessing that he wouldn't have to make. That's considered also saying God's name in vain. A more extreme example of this is a halacha that most people that I know violate all the time. You're walking to the kitchen to wash your hands for dinner. Not Friday night, just a normal day. You're going to wash your hands for bread. They say, oh, that's a nice plate of meatballs. Oh, let me just try one. I'll try one. I'll go wash my hands. Sit at the table. We'll have more by the main course.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to do that? Are you allowed to make a shakol in the meatball before you do a hamotzi?
It's called grazing.
Tell me what the problem is. The problem is that in a few minutes you're going to have these meatballs anyways. Are you going to have to make a shakol in a few minutes?
No.
No, why?
You're eating bread.
Because you ate bread, and the bread covers the blitz of shakol. Maran says,
bread covers everything.
yes. Maran says this is called a bracha she'ena tzricha. This is tantamount the same thing as saying Hashem's name in vain for no good reason.
Because you just need a little more self.
Yeah, just wait 5 more minutes and you won't have to make this bracha. You're forcing yourself in a situation where you'll have to make a blessing that you don't need to make.
But isn't there some kind of mitzvah of like tasting the Shabbat food before
On
Shabbat
Friday
food?
afternoon.
So tell us about that.
Oh, there is a mitzvah. It says v'tameh chaim zachu. Those who, it's a play on words. The tefillah says that those who taste Shabbat, they've merited to life. And our rabbis say, oh, tameh, also if you taste the food from Shabbat, then also you'll merit a good life. And there's actually a restaurant, it's a Hasidic restaurant in Yerushalayim. They serve all week long like Shabbat food, like cholent and kugel. And the name of the restaurant is Tameh. That's the name. Like, out of this, it's a plan. All week long you could taste Shabbat over here. And they make some good cholent. But this is the Tameh. So there was Rabbi Yonatan Halevy. He's my wife's great grandfather. Rabbi Yonatan Halevy was a sharp guy. He was a little kid. His mother would always put out, the kugel and say, it's a mitzvah to taste a little bit. So he would go and he would eat like a big chunk of the kugel. So, wow, come on, you ate half the kugel. And he would say, well, the continuation of the verse says, it says, "V'tameh chaim zachu," that those who taste Shabbat have merited to life. And what does that do?
What is it?
Ve'ohaveha gedula b'chahu. And those who love Shabbat, it shows greatness. It says, those who love Shabbat, they choose a great piece, a big piece. And that's gdola, a lot of big, right? Just, I'm not just do I taste, I want to love Shabbat, so I'm eating the whole kugel before Shabbat. So you have a lot of those people as well.
So you do that, but you just do it 15, 20 minutes before.
No, this is way before you're doing hamotzi. You're talking now about like Friday afternoon, like when you're still cooking for Shabbat.
So it's really in the middle of cooking.
But I understood.
So there's no mitzvah to do it like just when you.
No, when you come home, you have to wait for kiddush and hamotzi and all that.
But not even on a regular day, I understood if you're cooking, it's okay to taste the food to make sure that it's acceptable for the people.
Yeah, that's fine. It's tasting. The question now is if you're about to make hamotzi and
okay, that I understand.
yes?
Yeah.
So this is the part, it's considered making a blessing in vain. See, there's a big argument about whether or not you make a bracha on dessert.
Yeah.
Or not. Is dessert part of what's covered by the bread or not? I'm not here to express an opinion. Both sides have valid concerns. Those who say it is covered, well, let's talk about those who say it's not covered. Those who say it's not covered are afraid you're going to be eating food without a blessing. That's what they're afraid of. So you have to make the bracha. The other team says, listen, if you're making a blessing on food, you're saying God's name in vain. So what's the answer back? The answer back is, let's do Birkat Hamazon. Let's do Birkat Hamazon. We'll finish. And then we'll have to make blessings on dessert anyways. But that's forcing yourself into a situation where you have to make a blessing.
You can make all the blessings, bread, after that vegetables, one vegetable.
No, here we're talking about dessert. So if you do Birkat Hamazon, say, I'll solve the problem. I'll just do Birkat Hamazon, and then anyway they'll have to make a blessing. But you can't do that. That's called forcing yourself to make a blessing that you wouldn't have to make, which is the same thing as saying Hashem's name in vain.
So unless you take a proper hefsek, or can you take 15 minutes? Like let's all go to the
very
couch
good.
and have a.
So if you take a hefsek, if you make a hefsek between the meatball and the hamotzi, or between the meal and dessert, then that's a good thing to do. That would be the correct thing to do. Having that in mind, he says that somebody who is forcing himself, he makes a hefsek. Not only are you guilty of just getting distracted from the mitzvah, but essentially you're forcing yourself into a situation where you have to say another blessing. And it would be better for you to stay away from that fire. If you know you're putting on 2 talitot and you choose to wait in between and make a hefsek, you're forcing yourself to make that second blessing, and it's better for you not to get involved in that halachic problem.
What is the reason why dessert is not considered part of the meal, though?
Very good. According to halakha, what is considered part of the meal, it's not really what's considered part of the meal. as much as what you would eat with bread. The reason why bread covers everything is not because bread has some special characteristic to it. It's like if you eat a cracker with some hummus on it, you don't make a blessing on the hummus, you make a blessing on the cracker, because the main food is what gets rid of it, exempts the smaller food. Bread is like the main part of any real meal, or supposed to be, or used to be at least. I don't know, supposed to be, used to be. Anything that you would eat with bread is considered tafel. It's considered exempt by the bread, because you would eat it with bread. Hummus, salads, you eat salad with bread?
Yeah.
Sure, if you were in a shawarma store, a falafel stand, they'd put salad. Those are the meat, chicken, all these things you would have with the bread or in a wrap or something like that. All these fall into the category of what's exempt. You're probably not going to have like ice cream with your challah or a fruit salad with your challah. And so those things fall out of the category of things which are exempt by the bread.
But it's weird because you get real dinner foods that wouldn't fall in that category either, like the quinoa or the rice dish or the
there are things
the olive tapenade. Your olive tapenade is delicious. That you put in,
that you put on the bread.
Yeah, but I mean the quinoa.
And some people start their meal with fruit. So what about that?
Oh, I don't know if you know how big that fight is. Those people who start their meal after hamotzi, they serve like a little fruit dish.
Yeah.
The poskim say over there that that's meant to whet your appetite. And because of that, it's nullified to the meal. Now, how is that different than the dessert that comes at the end of the meal?
Right.
Oh, that's a great question, right? The Ben Ish Chai came up with an ingenious solution to this problem. The Ben Ish Chai says that if you really want to be careful, so have a little bit of your dessert with challah. Keep a little piece of challah next to you, and dip your ice cream in it. Eat a little bit, and then you solve the problem.
Oh, okay.
But you didn't. I'll tell you, there are a lot of halachot here, details that need to be discussed. For example, drinking. Tell me why you drink during the meal.
Why you drink what?
During the meal.
Digestion.
During the meal?
Slake
Yeah.
your thirst.
Yeah. To slake your thirst because it's pleasant.
Anybody drinks because they enjoy drinking? They like to have water or juice or...
Oh. Well, I mean, when you drink...
Yeah, you're thirsty and hungry. Yes.
It's a
Right.
mixture.
Maran seems to suggest if you're drinking because it helps you eat, that's considered secondary to the meal. You don't make a blessing. But if you drink because you like to drink, you want another glass of water. The first glass was to help you eat, but the second one could be you have to make a shakol and yabidvara on that.
You mean in the middle of the meal you make a shakol?
It's not as clear cut as we would like it to be that everything is covered under the bread. I'm not here to don't start making shakol in your cup of water. There are many poskim that argue. Actually, the Mekubalim suggest, if I'm not saying the Ben Ish Chai is one of them who suggests that when you do Kiddush on Friday night, just do Kiddush, and right before Hamotzi, drink a little bit of water, and make a shakol in that water. That way, it covers any water that you might drink during the meal.
Wine.
I've seen people who do that.
But it's weird because how is that different than the meatball in a way?
Oh, very good. It's a very good question. There are two answers to that question. One is if you would wait a significant amount of time, which probably you're not going to. The second is because according to Maran, you'd have to make a blessing on the water anyways. So it's not a blessing that you force yourself to make. The problem would be according to those who disagree with Maran. And then you're right, your question stands.
Yeah. It's a problem for us because I think, for some, at least in my house and I think some other houses, there's certain special drinks that we break out for Shabbat. Like, in ours, we will break out the Pellegrino and serve the Pellegrino water on the table. And that's like a Shabbat or holiday
Drink.
It's not, we might have it during the week, but it's not really an everyday drink.
The laws of brachot are fascinating, and I would love to get into them with you guys. We're right now in the Talit. This is a great discussion. No, it's a great discussion. No, it's not a sorry. I'm actually thinking that we probably should address these at some point. It's a very big topic.
Yeah. Well, we're wrapping ourselves in the halacha.
Oh, there you go. Welcome back. That was good. Let's wrap ourselves in the halakha right now. 171.
What happened?
Oh, come on.
He's a rapper.
You guys?
You're a roller? And you're a roller?
Enough.
I'm afraid I'm going to say something.
Should I make a shakol?
Yeah.
There's the rabbi. I can't.
Yeah, shakol.
The rabbi is.
Yes, go ahead.
Amen. No.
I really don't know what the right thing to do is. I see
It's
people.
the right thing to do. there's more than.
Do you know there is a time that you don't make a shakol in water? Do you know that?
When's that?
When do you not make a shakol in water?
When you're washing your hands for bread.
No, when you drink the water. If you are very thirsty.
Oh, you mean while you're drinking?
Yeah, you're about to drink a glass of water. There are 2 times where you don't make the blessing in water. If you're very thirsty, you just got back from a jog or something like that, you just need a drink. You don't make a shakol on that the first part that goes down. If you're filling up your glass again, because now you're rejuvenated, you want to have a glass of water properly, that's when you make the blessing.
Because you're not enjoying it.
You're not very good. You're not enjoying it. You need it. It's something you need.
Yeah.
The same thing is true if you are taking medications, and you just use the water for taking the medication.
Right.
You don't make a shakol on that. Only once you finish your medication, you want to finish your glass of water, that's when you make a shakol. It's a halachot that not everyone knows. So, says Maran.
It means taking medication and taking water, you don't have any blessings.
What you could do, if you know you're going to finish the glass of water, you can always make a shakol on the water, drink a little bit, enjoy it, and then finish the cup with your medication. If you like, you don't have to. What if you're in this situation? You had in mind to only wear one tzitzit. And then another one came also. I want to put that one also. You have to make a blessing on the second. All the cases we've spoken about until now, you have in mind to wear a few pairs. Here you have in mind to only wear one. What do you do with the other ones?
How would that come up?
We talk about like it's cold, and all of a sudden you decide, look, there's a little nip in the air, better put a second one on or something? Or
Yeah.
what do you expect?
If you're talking about articles of clothing, in our traditional synagogue scenario, imagine it's like a high school. These guys, they always show up with their tzitzit in their hands. They put on their tzitzit, then, I didn't realize, but I'm going to be chazan, so I'll put on my talit also. Does he make a blessing on the talit or not? That's where, I guess, our situation would come into play. If when you made the first blessing, Haya B'da'ato was in mind, Shelo livosh beged nosav shel arba knavot. You have in mind not to wear another 4-cornered garment. V'nimlach v'rotze livosh beged nosav shel arba knavot, but then you change your mind, so I want to wear a second article of clothing. Afilu lo hifsik klal achar levishat habeged harishon. Even if you don't interrupt at all between the first and the second. ואפילו היה הבגד השני לפניו בשעה שברך על הבגד הראשון. And even if the second 4-cornered garment was right in front of you when you made a blessing on the first one, צריך לחזור לברך על הבגד השני. You have to go back and make a blessing on the second one. You have to make a second blessing. The reason you didn't have it in mind, the first blessing can't count for something that you didn't have it in mind to count for. From here you can learn a number of halachot. You go to somebody's house, and you know that he's a total ignoramus when he makes kiddush. He does not thinking of you. He's barely thinking of himself. How can he have you in mind on the bracha of kiddush if he doesn't know he's supposed to? Not every guy with a glass of wine knows what he's doing.
Especially if he has a glass of wine.
There are times where you should ask to make kiddush on your own. You should know there are 2 customs about kiddush. Some houses, like every person in the world does kiddush.
Yeah.
Some houses, like the one person makes kiddush. The second custom is the correct custom. It says berov am hadrat melech. When there's a larger crowd doing something together, it's better than many people doing something on their own. Yes, so there's a Hasidic custom to do. Not just Hasidic. Every person does their own kiddush. And what it's nice is that sometimes, your guests, they're eating out of the house and their wife really wants to hear their kiddush. Okay, it's okay. You're allowed to. It's not that you're not allowed to make another kiddush, but it's nice when one person in the home makes kiddush for everybody. The same thing with hamotzi. I always thought everybody makes one hamotzi at home. Until I went to my father-in-law's house. And they do something very strange. I tell you, but I'm not sure if I should tell you.
Yeah,
He says, he holds the 2 loaves of bread, and says, Bochad Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. And then he holds it out to Dan, and Dan puts his hand in the challah, and he makes his own hamotzi. He holds it out to Hillel makes his own hamotzi. He holds it out to Jack, and holds it out to everyone makes their own hamotzi, and then he cuts it up and passes it around to everybody.
It might be Sephardic.
Sephardic.
He's
He's Hasidic as a get. That's why I was worried. I wasn't worried about this part. I was worried that someone might accuse my father-in-law of being Sephardic. And that could sever all ties between us.
Sorry, I don't mean to demean.
No, it's okay. Have you ever seen this custom before?
No.
And when I asked my wife, she said it's in certain Hasidic circles, it's very common. I actually don't think that my father-in-law's family does that. I've only seen him do it around other Hasidim. I guess he knows that they're the kind that do it.
To welcome them or something.
Yeah, to make them feel. It's an interesting thing. But essentially, one person should make them. Why am I telling you all of this? And which halakha we learn? So when you go and someone he's doing kiddush, you have to have in mind two things. He can have you in mind for kiddush, but if the people around the table don't have in mind that he's making kiddush for them, some people they sit there just looking at the guy with the glass. They don't know what they're supposed to be thinking. They're supposed to be thinking every word that he says. He's saying it for me. That's why if a person talks during kiddush, or they're playing with their kid during kiddush, or they're talking whatever they're on their phone or whatever I don't know what people do today during kiddush. And not a phone is not a good example, right? They're reading a book or whatever it would be. Well, during kiddush, you have to be in a situation that you could also be making kiddush if you wanted to. So you should be standing with him. You should be listening to every word. You should say amen at the right place. It's very important. Many people at the Shabbat table think they heard the kiddush and they didn't actually hear the kiddush. They maybe heard the words, but they were not yotzeh. They didn't have in mind that he's fulfilling the obligation. Or the other way around. The guy is making kiddush, and I've gone to many synagogues where the rabbis, you make kiddush today. Oh, you make kiddush today. It's a problem because not everyone who makes the kiddush knows what to think about when they make kiddush. An extreme example: how Peretz was at his house making kiddush once. And as he was saying, Baruch Ata Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, borei pri gefen, somebody walked into the door a second before he started the blessing, Baruch. Now for Kiddush you only need to hear Hagefen on the daytime. You don't have to, all the other things you say are just extras. In fact, I believe some German Jews only say borei pri gefen. They don't say anything. Not Savri Marana, not L'chaim, they pick up the glass, borei pri gefen, Amen, that's Kiddush. And actually, our rabbis call the Shabbat day Kiddush. You know what it's called in Aramaic? Kedusha Rabbah. Have you ever seen that in the Kedusha
Rabbah,
yeah. Ashkenazim still call it that. I've never seen Sfaradim.
Rabbah?
Yeah. The big Kiddush.
Crowd.
The great Kiddush. Our rabbi said it as a joke. It was like a sarcastic thing, like the big one, the one we only say one sentence for. Yeah, Friday night you have all these paragraphs you say. It was a sarcastic comment. And it's funny to me because today it's actually the longest Kiddush. You say Mizmor David, you say Veshamul, you say Im Tashiv, you say Zachot Yom Shabbat. The whole thing you're saying over there, we've actually made it the longest Kiddush in the book, but it was really a very sarcastic comment that our rabbis titled it. The Kiddush Rabbah, the great Kiddush. It's a rabbinic mitzvah. It's not a biblical mitzvah like on Friday night. The whole thing is an interesting story.
On Saturday for lunch, there's a tradition of only saying Al-Kain and then say the bracha,
right?
And not having all the.
So I happen to say that Al-Kain is the middle of the pasuk, so you should probably start it back up to the beginning of the pasuk. But you're right, it's a very short kiddush. That's what the point is, a very short kiddush. And the fact that we've turned it into this huge thing. Someone asked me, why do you only sing Zachor? You don't sing the other 3 paragraphs. It's the first time people are hungry. We've already prayed for 3 hours in a row. And the truth is that I don't have to say it. I'm already saying more than I need to be saying. Just Borei Pri Gefen. So the person walked in the door, and they heard the Borei Pri Gefen, they said Amen, they drank it. They asked Rabbi Peretz, do I have to make my own kiddush, or am I included in your kiddush? It's a very simple thing I learned from our parents. He told me that he has in mind, every time he makes a blessing, any blessing, on a cup of water, on a lulav, whatever it is, he has in mind, whoever hears my blessing, and has in mind to be fulfilled with my bracha, I'm including him in my blessing. So if he blows a shofar, whatever he's doing, he has in mind, anyone who listens to me. So he asked the guy, it's not about me. I might have not seen you, but did you have in mind to fulfill your obligation with me? Yes, okay, you don't have to make your own kiddush. That's how it works. You have to make sure you say this. And if you're with a new crowd of people, you should go home one Shabbat a month. You should remind people. Everyone have in mind, I'm making this kiddush for you. I try to do that whenever I can.
Is it a good idea to remind people that?
Sure.
To say it out loud.
It's a great thing to do that.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason. It's not exactly the reason, but this idea of Savri Ma'anan, L'chaim, it doesn't have to be that. Sometimes people say Bershut Morai V'Rabotai, they'll say, or I think Ashkenazim say Bershut, that's what they say. And this idea, it's Sevel Manan is more of a Kabbalistic concept. Bershut is just saying, with your permission. And I always wonder, like, if I say, no, I don't let, like, what happens then? Can he actually make Kiddush then? But Bershut is, the whole point of that saying is, with your permission, can I make this blessing for you? So maybe it's better to say in English, with your permission, like, may I have your attention, please, and then make the blessing for them. That's the idea behind it. It's a good minhag to say that. Some Ashkenazim even have a custom to add in Bershut this person, Bershut that person. It's good. It gets people who would otherwise be spacing out involved in the mitzvah of Kiddush.
Nice.
So here you see that a person can make a bracha on one thing, and he has to repeat the blessing a second time because he did not have the proper intention in mind regarding the second talit that he's going to put on. Im ragil, if a person is accustomed, lilbosh tamid kama b'gadim she'arba knafot b'zeh chazeh. If a person normally wears 4, 5, 6, 4-cornered garments, one after the next. V'yo b'gadim munachim lefanav. This is Rabbi Scheinberg from Yerushalayim, and they are all in front of him. Uverech al habeged harishon b'stam. And he makes the blessing on the tzitziot. Stam. What does stam mean?
Just because?
Yeah, just because. He doesn't have any particular specific kavanah for the first one, for the third one. He's making the blessing, whatever he's doing. He does not thinking yes or not to include the other tzitziot. Does he have to make another blessing for every one of the tzitziot? Or can they be included in his first category? I guess we're making 3 separate styles of bracha. There's the one who has in mind to include all 4. There's the one who has in mind only to include the first one. And then there's this guy who just doesn't have in mind anything. He just has in mind a blessing. I'm making a blessing on tzitzit, a vague blessing, not a specific blessing.
I'm into this new Jewish thing. I was told to say this prayer.
Yeah, and he's already gotten used to wearing his many pairs every day. So it's something he does. They're all there in front of him. Does he have to go make another blessing? What would your mind tell you?
He doesn't have in mind that it's for...
But he doesn't have in mind he doesn't have in mind to exclude it either.
Right.
It's like a par, like a neutral, yeah.
An automatic sort of.
But automatically assume he is not including everybody.
Why?
Because it is not his mind. His mind doesn't include everybody.
Just not enough concentration.
Include me. That.
Maybe it doesn't even work for his first one. He's not having in mind anything.
Yeah. So.
No, it works. So I'll tell you, it works for the first one.
So what's the answer?
What's inside?
Cut to the chase.
He does not have to make a blessing on the other ones. Because he is already accustomed to wearing a few pairs. The fact that he's making a bracha to put on his tzitzit in general, and the way he puts on tzitzit is to wear 4. Yeah. Now, let's ask you a question. This person, they bring him, you forgot, we got you a birthday present. It's your 5th tzitzit. He didn't have it in mind. He put the 4. Does he have to make a blessing on the 5th one? The clothing wasn't in front of him when he made the blessing. He says, you don't go back and make another blessing on that 5th clothing, because you're in doubt as to whether or not to make a blessing, you're lenient and you don't make the blessing. That is a highly irrelevant case. I have to tell you the truth. That's what I think. But it could be that you'll come up with some scenario in your head in which that would actually work.
Somebody give a gift, you don't wear it right on the spot. Then put the shirt after that.
Yes, that's another reason for why it's irrelevant. I meant irrelevant just because who wears that many pairs of tzitzit? Yeah, and then, here's another one that I didn't have in mind.
Yeah.
I guess the idea that was supposed to come out of this halakha, I'm trying to come to something practical, is the 3 categories of brachot. Like there's meat, there's milk, there's I had in mind, I didn't have in mind, and then there's parv. I didn't have really either way in mind. That neutral parv is much better than the one who specifically doesn't have in mind. Meaning your kavanah actually holds weight in Jewish law. People might not realize this, but on Shabbat, the same person, 2 people could do the same avera, one intentionally, one unintentionally. the one who had in mind to do it is in more trouble than the one who didn't have in mind. But they're doing the same thing. Take a picture of him, a video, the same thing. Intention is very, very important. And that is actually one of the reasons why HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, don't judge other people. You saw actions, but only I am bochen klayot velev. Only I can know what they were thinking about when they did that. Yeah. And that's a very big musar. It's a very big teaching for us to know. You might see someone do something,
Not judge other people.
and you would say, "Oh, it's a terrible thing." It might have actually been a terrible thing, yes, but they didn't know, or they didn't have in mind, or they didn't, for whatever reason it would be. It's not so terrible once you know their intention. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does that with us also, for the positive and for the negative. If you had in mind to do something good and it didn't work out for you, it still counts as if you did it, because your kavanah was in the right place. There was a rabbi who spoke, he gave a class that I had to listen to him. It was a painful hour of my life. He said that if a person wears tefillin, and they have in mind to wear tefillin, but they didn't know how to put it on properly, they could wear tefillin every day of their life, and Hashem won't even give them a mitzvah for it. Don't pretend Hashem is some, he called him like a hippie god, that he loves everything that you do for him. That's first of all, I don't know when the last time HaKadosh Baruch Hu came down to this earth and communicated with the rabbis directly. I don't know where he got his insider trading information from. But
I'm an anti-God.
He's really saying it's a correction to the New Age thing. It's trying to say the motivation
is more important than the action.
Yeah, right.
I appreciate that. The truth is somewhere in the middle. Both of them are incorrect. No, motivation is not more important than action. Neither is the action more important than the intention you have when you do the mitzvah. It's somewhere in the middle. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the guy wakes up every day. He puts on tefillin. He didn't know. And maybe he won't get the mitzvah 100% of putting on tefillin with the bracha, with the right place. It's not sitting. But he got something for trying. And even if he didn't get something, why tell it to the guy, poor guy who's wearing tefillin? What constructive purpose is going to come out of it? To teach people that their thoughts are much more powerful than they think they are. We underestimate. Today they say sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. In Judaism, it's quite the contrary. And the words are very powerful. The things you say, speech. You break someone's bone, they can put on a cast. You hurt somebody's heart. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to do a surgery on their heart to get rid of the offense? Now, Peretz once said you should break every dish in your house before you curse at your wife. Is it because you say one wrong thing, and it's rightfully so? They're never going to forget it.
One wrong thing.
They're never forget it. I once had a person call me.
I would love to trade back for just one wrong thing.
one wrong thing, huh?
Unfortunately, there's been more.
All right, have a good evening.